Welcome everyone, my name is Gabriel and today something quite unique because it will be a audio log actually. I haven't done these for quite some time and this will be a long one because I have a topic to discuss. So many thoughts in my head, not really want to put them down in a script and organize them because it will be longer to actually record this and edit and actually create a sort of a flow with my thoughts. As the title suggests, the topic is Game of Thrones, but more importantly, the Song of Ice and Fire, which is the actual name of the series by George.R.R. Martin. And maybe at the very beginning I should actually introduce myself. My name is Gabriel, I create videos on this channel, mainly focusing on games, RPG games, and basically I'm trying to comment sometimes things that I found interesting in the world as well. The world of pop culture, fantasy, books, literature, this kind of things, as well, movies, basically artifacts of culture that I found interesting and that are aligned with my fields of interests, and one of those is definitely literature and fantasy. So, does Game of Thrones / Song of Ice and Fire go too far? That's a tough topic because I believe I do believe I'm a conscious reader, and I do try to analyze and dissect storylines, plot lines, to deeper than just the overall situation and events that you can see and kind of experience in the whole story that is told via medium like TV series or a movie or a book. I always try to go deeper and think and ask myself what actually the author wants to do. What is the overall thing that the creator wants to present in a specific, by doing a specific event or placing a character in a specific situation. And with Game of Thrones, especially when I will be talking about Game of Thrones, I will try to refer to the TV series, HBO show. And when I'll be talking about the Song of Ice and Fire, I will try to talk about the books, because I read the books around 2 years ago, and after two seasons of the TV series, I decided that it might be a good idea to actually get my hands on the reference material, the basic material, which is the books, obviously. And I have to say, as far as Martin is a very good author, he wrote really nice characters. He has a unique way, maybe not an original, but certainly a unique way of portraying the events in his books from all these multiple angles, point of view characters. He's also quite good with creating tension and creating a situation where characters are forced to act a little bit differently and not like you expect from a modern fantasy series. The fact that he kills some characters also makes sense, but at the same time, when I see where the showrunners, David Benioff and Dan Weiss, I believe those are the correct names, when they take a turn and try to manipulate this, I have to say, first of all, I do understand that the TV series format is very different than a book. So I try to discourage people to present statements when they say, oh, the book is so much better than the TV series because the book is so much better. No, don't get me wrong, but I believe those different types of medias are very rarely possible to be compared on such a level. Because, when you're reading a book, like 70% of what you experience is actually created through your imagination. When I read a text where he has blue eyes in a description of a character, the way I portray blue eyes is different than someone else will. So, my Renly Baratheon looks totally different than someone else's Renly Baratheon. And the thing is, this doesn't measure up. And in the show, when you have Lena Headey playing Cersei Lannister, we all see her, and her acting is actually much more influential than any kind of other things. So I don't think comparing these is actually valid and presents any type of value. So I discourage this type of comparison. At the same time, going back to why I think Game of Thrones goes too far. The thing that pushed me to make this video is, or this audiolog, is basically the last 2 episodes. And obviously, that's a spoiler, you haven't seen the show and you haven't read the books. How to say it? More or less, the last 2 episodes of season 5 are basically a bloodbath. There is death after death after death, and people who are dying are major characters, are people and characters who are quite vital and were vital for the role and were quite important, like Stannis Baratheon, like obviously Jon Snow, in my opinion to some degree also Myrcella Baratheon, daughter of Jaime Lannister, and Queen Cersei. A lot is going on. That is true. That is true. And the thing is, whenever I see this, you know, the show and the books are quite famous for killing characters. But when I read the books, mainly the first one, when I saw death of, I haven't seen death of Ned Stark coming actually. I haven't seen the death of Robb Stark coming. I'm really not a type of guy who gets very emotional about the things he reads and characters. At the same time, a big part of me tries to analyze. I was always a kind of an analytical person. Try to analyze and ask myself a question: why this character had to die in the story progression, the plot progression. And to be honest, most of the deaths we saw in the season 5, they don't make sense to me. Like death of Sir Barristan Selmy, like death of Stannis Baratheon, as well as Shireen Baratheon. Shireen Baratheon I think is the best idea here, and the best example. Obviously, well, Stannis in general, as you read the books and you see the show, and in the books it is much more visible, I believe, than in the show. He is a type of guy who is able to sacrifice almost everything, considering he sacrificed his daughter to get a foothold, to have the possibility to do something. It's a tremendous sacrifice to kill your child, give the child to a god. Why? Because he wants the rains, the weather to stop so he can march forward. And with that march, gain the possibility to kill the Boltons, unite the North, and maybe after winter take another try of getting the Iron Throne. The thing is, her death is actually meaningless. Doesn't give him any possibility. And when you put that into perspective with the fact that he threw 3 leeches with king's blood of this bastard boy of his brother, can't remember his name now, and that ended up with 3 kings dying, this doesn't measure up in any way. And that brings me to my biggest conclusion. I believe, and this is obvious to some degree, that Game of Thrones world, the world of the Song of Ice and Fire, is way unbalanced when it comes to justice. And whenever I look at specific characters, I see this very, very clearly. And the fact is, whenever a character dies, a character who is beloved by the readers, like Robb Stark, like Catelyn Stark, like Eddard Stark, or maybe some other characters as well. When these people die, they usually die because of a machination or some sort of a chain of events that leads other characters to a much more powerful position. The Red Wedding is a good example here. Red Wedding brought the end of the Starks to some degree, on a, let's say, political and military scene. Now the problem is, who is responsible for that event? There's actually 2 people. This was orchestrated by Tywin Lannister through the hands of Walder Frey. And when someone creates a world that is just to some degree, this type of dramatic and very horrific event that actually kills beloved characters, puts other characters in a very difficult position. in a just world, or at least in some way just world, those two characters who are responsible would get some sort of dramatical treatment. Now, obviously, out of the two, only one is still alive. Tywin was killed by Tyrion Lannister, and his death is not the type of just death. It's not a revenge by Starks, what we actually expect in any way. He was killed by his son. Totally different storyline, totally different motivation, and totally different plotline, which makes the Red Wedding and his part in Tywin's part in Red Wedding not really. There is no actual event that makes justice for his orchestration of the Red Wedding. And with Walder Frey, who is sitting in his towers and basically has no problem, he's now the Lord of Riverrun, depending on whether you're a book reader, he's basically fine. The thing is, in the book, there is a character who you probably know has a revenge mission to kill him. That's obviously Lady Stoneheart. Stoneheart? I think that's the name. Well, Catelyn Tully, Catelyn Stark Tully, who's absent in the TV series. So how Walder Frey will die in the TV series, I have no idea. But the thing is, with the deaths in the 5th season, I think most of them are not justified from a story point of view and from a plot point of view. What that means, I believe these characters are dead for the sole purpose of being dead. And that's when I think the showrunners went too far. Because, okay, we need to kill some people because people expect the deaths to happen. And that's not how you create story. That's when a story, I believe, goes down with its quality. For example, when you look at the story in the Song of Ice and Fire, and you look at the story in the TV series, and you arrive at the point where Ned Stark gets killed, his death is actually an event that sets the most important motion in the story, the War of the Five Kings, right? His death, as much as it is meaningless because it's a whim of a brat king, Joffrey, it serves a purpose in the storyline. When death of Jon Snow, for example, in the end of the book 5 and in the end of season 5 doesn't make sense. Well, it makes better sense in the book than in the TV series, because in the TV series I don't see the whole idea behind the whole scene. The scene is dramatic, the scene looks great, that's true. The fact that people hate Ollie, the little boy who strikes Jon Snow like the Brutus struck Caesar, right? I do understand that, but the thing is, his death is so unjustified. Why these people are killing him? You might not like your commander, but the same guys decided that he should be the Lord Commander. And the thing is, in the books, that he wants to go south to save his sister, which is a violation of his vows. And that's why, in the book, the Night's Watch brothers decide to kill him. And that's why they say for the Watch, because he wants to betray the Watch. And he says that straight in their faces during a big gathering. He even asks them to help him. That's why Jon Snow dies in the books. When in the show he dies because he likes wildlings, because what? He allowed the wildlings to pass? The correlation is much more weaker in the TV series. But that aside, I want to wrap this up. Why I believe the Game of Thrones, especially in the TV series, it is very visible. Why it goes too far? It goes too far because there is a border that a conscious reader always has. A border where, after that border, it becomes to you as a conscious reader, as a reader who reads the books, not only to participate in the events, but also to see the craft of writing behind those events. So the plot, the storyline. At some point it becomes, I believe, maybe I'll say that differently. When a conscious reader reads a death of a character, for me, in the TV series, most deaths in the season 5 final 2 episodes don't serve a purpose, a plot purpose, a storyline purpose. They are there because they need to kill some people. And when death becomes a self-serving element, I believe that's where the value of your work dramatically decreases. And I don't know if I'll be watching the show next year. A lot, I believe, depends on how much different will be the story in the 6th book, which I hope obviously to read as well. Up to this point, the show is great when it comes to the value of acting, when it comes to the value of writing, in the sense of quality of the writing, not the plot progression. The whole visuals, effects, all of that is basically really greatly done. But when the storyline and the plot line loses its ground, and I think it is losing its ground, it is kind of dramatically decreasing in its value, that's when a show, TV show, book, game, whatever, that's when it loses my actual attention, because it becomes not if predictable, it becomes usually much less entertaining, and that's something I really fear, that this show is going to such a direction where the sole purpose of killing is killing. We kill those characters because we need to kill them to shock the viewer. The shock of the viewer becomes a goal instead of a consequence of a situation that we create between our characters and deeper in the storyline. Okay, thank you for your time. I hope I gave you a little bit of thought somewhere, I don't know. Maybe some of my arguments are okay, maybe some you feel aren't exactly what they should be. Feel free to use the comment section below to tell me what do you believe should go, and obviously remember this is a very spoiler heavy territory. Thank you for your time. Hope to see you next time, and if this form makes sense to you as a person, maybe you have some topic that you would like me to dissect. Maybe there is a specific book or a specific part of the show that you would like me to give my opinion on. Feel free to share, feel free to engage in a conversation, and feel free to also critique my ideas and my way of viewing the show and the writers. Just remember, there is zero tolerance for trolling and basically offense towards me or any other person. As far as I am the moderator, I will do anything that is in my power to limit those types of behavior. So rhetorical, material critic, fine, but no arguments ad persona. So don't call me an idiot or an unconscious reader, because I believe I'm quite an intelligent person, and I can quite clearly see when something makes sense and when someone presents their arguments with a sort of a value and thought process behind it that I can actually relate and believe in. Thank you for your time. My name is Gabriel. Hope to see you next time, and hope to see you soon, because I do like sharing my thoughts, my opinions in this form, as well as basically creating videos on different subjects. So this time, and for all the times, remember, winter is coming. What?